Full game spoilers for Deltarune Chapters 3 and 4, including the Shadow Crystals for both chapters, but not the Weird Route because I haven't played it, and not the eggs because I don't know what the fuck is going on and I'm scared. I saw some people hating on Chapter 3 and that annoyed me, and I heard just people saying that's filler, there's no secret boss, and that's lame. I disagree strongly. First, filler. Structurally, purely pacing-wise, the game has to get from Chapter 2 to Chapter 4, which are different. Tonally, structurally, Chapters 1 and 2 set up the idea that all these Dark Worlds are going to be the same. There's going to be 3 areas, there's going to be a little freak that you meet who gives you a Shadow Crystal because he goes insane. But we have to change that because, you know, Deltarune's a different thing. We gotta get to Chapter 4, and it's different. So, what Chapter 3 does is that it takes this idea of the Dark World we understand and brings that to its logical extreme by being, like, the silliest shit ever, so that, like, it gets that out of its system so that it can literally kill it and get it out of the way so we can, you know, lock the fuck in Chapter 4. Chapter 3 and Chapter 4 are, like, linked tonally because they both need the other to, like, be what they are. They need to balance each other. But then in that case, what does Chapter 3 add to the story of the game if it's just this kind of, if it just needs to be this silly tonal bridge between the chapters? So each chapter of the game changes the way that we know Dark Worlds to work by, like, it elaborates on what it is that makes a Dark World a Dark World. Chapter 1, it's just like, oh, it's just the objects in the closet, right? Chapter 2, it's the room the fountain is in, but also it's combined with the dreams of whoever enters it, right? Chapter 2 is a Ferris wheel because Noelle wants to take Susie to the festival, and it's the whole city's vandalized with spelling bee puzzles because Burley doesn't understand what happened to Des, and he made that whole corridor that spells out December just to, like, gloat in her face because he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. And, like, Queen builds the room that she thinks Lightners want to see because she wants to create a dream world, right? It's like, oh, it's all dream logic. But Chapter 3 changes that entirely and says, no, it's the mind of the person that made the fountain, specifically their mind, more than anyone else's. And Chapter 4 says, it's not only that, but it's at the moment the knight hits the ground, their exact frame of mind, which is why it gets, like, the place gets flipped upside down and changes color because Susie's trying to remember where she wants to go, and Gerson turns into a skeleton because she's freaked the fuck out that, oh my god, he's a dead guy. Chapter 3 is significant because the jump between it being a dream and it being this person's mind is really significant. So what tells us this specifically is that there's this one Darkner at the end of Chapter 3 just outside the green room that says, this place used to be a bigger Dark World, one that, like, resembles the house more. Like the frozen waste, watery basin, metal desert, it's like, oh, the fridge, the sink, the stove, it's like, oh, this place was bigger and used to be like a real Dark World that you would have expected to see, but Tenna moved in and ruined everything and, like, bulldozed the whole place, and it's just the game show now. It's the game show now. Oh shit. So Chris's life before we showed up wasn't great. They had a rough life, they're lonely and stuff, but they had a life. They had a real world and somewhat of a real identity, but that's gone now. We have completely sandblasted everything that Chris was in the name of our entertainment, so that we could play a video game where we control Chris, which is what you do the whole time in Chapter 3, right? I think Tenna represents the heart in this way, where he doesn't know, like he's just trying to have fun and, like, oh, we're gonna do rock music because, oh, remember how cool Des was? And he doesn't know that he's just bringing up these, like, terribly painful memories for Chris because he just wants to have fun. Just like we're just playing this game, like, oh, it's fun, like roller coasters and shit, and we're ruining their life. Another note on secret bosses, there's this Tumblr post by Procopets that I thought was really smart. Chapter 3 shows us the Dark World with Roaring Night wasn't able to insert itself into the world's retroactive history because it wasn't created by the Knight. Regardless of who Chris is working with, Chapter 3 wasn't in the plans for this. Which I don't know is true because the prophecy in Chapter 4 mentions Tenna, but I think the Knight was supposed to create Chapter 3's Dark World, but Chris got sick of everything and made it themselves just to, I don't know, maybe just to feel something. But with that, the shadow crystals that are supposed to appear in each chapter don't in the right way, which is why the knight shows up at all to challenge us so that, you know, someone can give you its shadow crystal this chapter. And chapter 4 is the knight playing damage control, trying to make a quote-unquote normal dark world that resembles the other ones structurally more, but they fuck it up. She fucks it up because she picks Gerson as the target to plant a shadow crystal on, but it doesn't work because he's too swag. So my addition to this is that I believe chapters 3 and 4 both have a character that would have been the right target to give a shadow crystal if the knight was able to get in there and not fuck it up. Because each of the quote-unquote normal secret bosses that we know are jarring and out of place in their dark worlds, based on an abandoned object, and have this obsession with, like, not being thrown away. Or in Jevel's case, he doesn't give a shit, he leans into it. They have gimmick fights that are harder than the rest of the chapter, and often use motifs from Undertale in, like, silly, goofy ways. And they are the only characters in the game, other than Temmie for some reason, to have voice lines, to have, like, Toby Fox yell something stupid in their voice. There's 2 characters, one in each chapter, that fit these criteria perfectly. Tenna and Jackenstein. Jackenstein was supposed to be, would have been the guy to give the crystal to, but then I didn't see that for some reason. So, back to chapter 3, the route to get the Shadow Mantle is, you know, obviously a big sign that says, hey dumbass, there's a weird route, because most people who are going to play Deltarune haven't been playing chapter 2 for 4 years and don't know about it. So, the game wants you to go back to chapter 2, but the weird route isn't the only knowledge that you're going back to chapter 2 with, now that you know how, like, the extent to which it is important that it is specifically the Fountain Creator's Dark World, because chapter 2 is the only one between 1, 2, and 3 where there's, like, we know that the knight made it. Who is Des? She has a baseball bat, it's Des. So her being the one that made chapter 2 changes what chapter 2 means. There's like the big city in chapter 2 isn't there because Noelle wants it to go with Des like we thought it was. It's there because Des wanted to fulfill her promise to take Noelle there. So I don't know how far this goes, but I think the entire bit of Chris and Queen being trucies is important, because that to me confirms that Carol is on the phone. I haven't played Weird Route yet, so maybe it gets confirmed there, but, like, that's important. Chapter 3 makes that connection happen, and chapter 3 is the bridge between chapter 2 and chapter 4, but it does so in ways that make sense going from 3 to 4, but also makes you look backward at 2. So the ending of 3 says, oh shit, it's getting serious, but if you go back to chapter 2, chapter 3 tells you that, oh shit, it has been serious. Like, it makes sense that chapter 3 is the way it is, and I think that's really, really, really smart. I mean, what better place for a filler episode than the goddamn TV?